was there, but the delivery in the moment could have caused us and all those passengers who thought they were doing the right thing, we were actually misled.
Well, I guess they closed the doors because of the air conditioning, but why a train would sit in a station with the doors closed, that's not a good thing.
And that's something that
That's one thing.
we've been talking about. If the
But
train's
no
not moving, the
information is
door
another
needs
story.
to, they should be open. AC might be a reason, but people may want to opt to get off if
Right,
it's
if
a
the
long
train is
delay.
being held, open the
Right.
doors,
Yeah.
and that's usually what I see, so that this story sounded, that one, that's on. The lack of information is.
I need to sit down with the team on that policy,
Yeah, but
because
the
we've
lack of-
already said doors should stay
Okay.
open.
Yeah, but the lack of information is still common. This has been ongoing for, if you could get more information to the past, truly get more information to the past in situations like this, God bless you, because since I've been on the committee, it has not really improved much at all. I mean, I don't know what everybody else thinks, but I have not seen.
And I understood, like, in the moment, the decision, okay, this is an express, let it stop and let it move ahead, so I understand that theory behind it,
Yeah,
but you gotta tell the customers that this way, like me, what I wanted to do in the end was jump off and get on that express, luckily I was able to.
So
We
what
have to
I'm
push it to happen.
And it probably won't be until after August, but right in September, looking to bring in the conductors in groups and talk to them directly and let them know what I'm trying to do.
Because you get feedback from them.
Yes.
Because we get frustration from them. They say,
Yeah.
they don't tell us anything. They get really angry.
I'm sure that's why
about
the guy shrugged his shoulders, he probably didn't even realize
Because there are
what was
some,
happening if the doors
and
were
you
going.
probably will have seen it, there are some conductors that are really great.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And even off the cuff are really keeping the customers informed, or even with the normal announcements, it comes across in a different way
Mhm.
than some of the others.
Well, even just something as simple in Penn Station as saying, your train is going to be 10 cars today. Something as simple as that, because I've been on a number of times where I go on later night trains, and I'm standing, especially when you have, was it track 15, that you have the narrow passageway? And all of a sudden, you're standing there and waiting, and all of a sudden the train comes in, 2, 4 cars short, and everybody, you have a wall of people trying to get through a space that's.
Okay, let's try to take you want us to take the first question, Eric?
Well,
We'll start around.
oh, go ahead, well, you go ahead.
Start, yeah.
But yeah, share the information with me if you want, you can share it with Hector.
I mean, I guess his issue is that we know how to get in touch to you guys. We had a trainload of people who were very frustrated and almost banging on doors, let us get out. How do we, I mean, we know what to pass along. I guess his question is how the people who are on the train relieve that anger so it doesn't carry on being a commuter. And then we also social media, we see how it expands and goes further and further. So I guess the frustration he was feeling, other people were feeling in the same car as well.
If I was the calmest out of the people in my car, I'll definitely
That
say
says a
that.
lot if he's the car, so that's, I think, what he was, but now you want to start?
But, well, I mean, one of the things that we brought up in the presentation, you were trying to improve the communication. What exactly is gonna be done now to try to get more information to the community? We've got these, it's not, the timing clocks and all that have not been perfected yet, so we're still getting false information that's up there. What are your plans, or what is gonna happen to try to get this information current, and how long is it gonna take for it to happen?
Well, the GPS should be all fully installed by August, when all the upgrades done. So by that time, then the countdown clocks should all be accurate, okay? So that's one piece. Working on hiring what I'll call a chief experience officer, who's gonna be tied to the customer's experience, is tied to messaging, and sit down with the current team that does it right now. And I need to, because one of the other things that I observe when I go to the 204, where they're all managing whether it's a delay or the movement of the trains, is that I want to make sure that somebody is not just getting the information from the folks trying to operate and manage, but there needs to be another component that actually can do the communication piece. Because I think what happens is, it used to be when I was dealing with snowstorms and stuff, you're trying to take care of getting the snow piles where you need to do, take care of making sure that the message signs are saying the right thing. But then you're getting phone call after phone call asking what's going on, I need a real-time update, and I myself are calling them, saying what's going on, I'm seeing this on the Twitterverse, and So we need to strengthen I think the PIO side that is doing the messaging. Some of the discussions I've had, and it's, welcome your feedback on it, is do we actually script what the conductor says, or do we let them use a little, creative license with how that information, when they finally do get it? I was more of the inclination to script it so it gets out the way we want, but I've had kind of both feedback in terms of that. But I also know that internally I need to improve the information that we're getting. There's always this thing that you get something from the train, but you need to make sure it's accurate. And I think what has happened is a fear of putting something out too quickly and having it be wrong. And at the same time, then you get killed because we waited 10 minutes to put something out. So it's making sure that we have a better communication thing from the actual train itself, from the people responding. I brought in a company who, and I've reminded the staff again, this is not to find fault, it's to help us improve. Network Rail, who I used when I was on the subway action plan. And they work very closely with improving service, customer service with London. And they're helping us in terms of taking a look at our communication feeds and ideas of how to improve that piece. So, working on that. I know it's not there yet, because it's inconsistent. I think that's the issue. We need to be more consistent. Something that happened the other day, right after some major weekend signal work, cut over and all, we encountered some delays Monday morning. I said, what we should have done is actually told people that we were doing significant work over the weekend. Monday, there may be 5 to 10 minute delays, and you should be prepared for it. Those, and then maybe even encourage folks to add time to their travel, or consider going to Atlantic or another location if you need be. But at least then we're telling them the night before, or we're telling them before they actually are getting there. And again, I think we're hesitant to say that there might be delays in advance, hoping that there won't be. One of my first days, Amtrak had an issue, and I remember them telling me that they thought optimistically they could be done in time, and we held off telling the public. And really, in hindsight, we said, we should have told the public that Amtrak is doing this work. They may run late, and if they run late, these are the following trains that will be first diverted. And we got, we got rightfully so criticized for not saying something sooner. So I think that's all they're asking for, is just tell us up front. Things happen, you just got to tell us.
And I got one more to ask you. A lot of people have been asking about Wi-Fi in the train. Is there any kind of thought of it, if it's going to happen? Why?
I even asked about it, and I agree with the folks that it'd be a nice thing to have, but we got so many other needs to spend the dollars right now to put Wi-Fi on the trains. It doesn't seem like, from my perspective, the right thing. Because originally I thought that was something that we should tackle.
We've been asking for that for, God, how many, 15 years? And every time we asked, we thought, well, people don't use Wi-Fi anymore. We've been, for 15 years we've been hearing that. People still use Wi-Fi even though there's other stuff.
Well,
so that's a different
I
answer.
think with data throttling and all the things that cell phone companies do, the demand is back for Wi-Fi, because people are trying to use less and less of
So
their
The
paid
problem,
data.
I know. So we had a-
What I do want to do is enhance the current blackout spots, like in the Atlantic terminal tunnels.
So there's no cell service.
Right, those things that we're working on. In fact, we just put out an RFP to accelerate that work. And I told the folks, don't tell them how long it's going to take. Let them bid their schedule, and that's what we're doing.
But I think people would appreciate that more than the Wi-Fi,
anyone's-
because at least have
Yeah.
service where there's
So,
none.
yeah, I thought about it and I asked about it and I was going to push, but then that was, we do have so many other needs on the car itself for me to start working on improving that. And what I didn't want to do is push to do it and then have Wi-Fi where it fails all the time.
It's Amtrak.
I've been in places where you log in the
No,
Wi-Fi
but
and
that's
it's
been the
worse.
example,
It's
no,
worse than
exactly,
using your cell
Amtrak's been a
Right.
Amtrak does it, but if anyone's been on Amtrak, it's not that great. And I think one of the thinking, it's quite honest, this was said at a board briefing, this was a number of years ago, that if we did it, it would be another thing for people to complain about. I mean, because it wouldn't be all that good, and the feeling was that a lot of people do have, you know, whatever, they use the data on their phone, so I don't know. You know, some of the trips on the long run are kind of long. And those, you know, I take short trips, it doesn't matter to me, Wi-Fi. And Wi-Fi on the subway is silly, but that's another story. But, you know, some people do have long trips, and I don't know, the MTA should start looking at it again.
Well, I think
To see
that's where
about
they
providing
appreciate power chargers more than Wi-Fi, because the trip is so long, they're draining
Let's,
their
let's hold
phone.
on, that's
And
coming
I-
up, that's coming up with yours. That's coming up.
Well, that's what I
So,
wanted.
but Jerry's next.
No, actually, no, I'm gonna go off track a little bit, because you mentioned about a communications person, you know, and a rider experience person. And that's critical, because I'm sure Hector related to the situation I had the other night. There's more about communications, but the bottom line is, the trains all ran on time. But my train was, 7:30 was canceled, I had to go on at 7:41. That ran on time to Babylon, but the connection wasn't huddled, because that ran on time. So my customer experience was, I got home an hour late, but the railroad was on time. So you don't capture that in your statistics. And, you know, and especially when you're working a long day and you're looking to catch, you know, the 7:30 and you wind up getting the connection for the 8:30. So, on a positive note, though, because Hector shared that email with you, I guess someone was spoken to, because I caught the 7:30 again last night, and there was some sort of difficulties where it had to go from a regular local to an Uber local. We stopped from St. Albans all the way out. We were 16, 17 minutes late getting into Babylon, and it held the connection. And they said they were gonna hold the connection, and that was a positive. I'm sure someone made a phone call saying, you can't say you're gonna hold the connection and not hold the connection. So, you know, that was a positive thing. On the negative side, they didn't collect any tickets on either train, but that's another, that's another question or issue.
Okay, you want to?
Well, actually, that was more the communication, I think we
No.
hit some of the communication ones. You want me to track them right away, or? You know, what benefits can a rider expect from the cutover of the new Harold interlocking? I know a lot of that is due for east side access. Are we gonna see any benefits prior to east side access with
Yeah,
what you're doing there?
it's supposed to provide much more reliability of service through there. I mean, I'm not the most technical on all those, but, you know, those switches and the processes that operate them are supposed to be much more reliable, so they should see some benefits. I mean, the example I referenced of a significant cutover was actually the Harold cutover that last weekend, which was a major one. We experienced some delays that Monday because it was sort of like punch list stuff that, you know, I kicked myself that we should have said something, that this is significant work Monday morning, that you should expect some delays, which we had, but moving forward, it's gonna be, my understanding from all the folks that touted that project is, it's huge. Which is why, you know, we wanted to get the message out about how important that is.
Another biggie is if you could provide any further information on the Amtrak's plans for rehabilitation of the existing East River tunnels. I was at a meeting, about a year ago, and he says, oh, we're gonna start working on it in 1919. And I'm like, what happened to 1918? And then within months, right, Bill, all of a sudden it was 2022 or something, when East Side Access was finished, then they would work on the tunnels, and it's like, things have been deteriorating since Sandy. I mean, how long can they let it go? So it is a concern to riders about when, you know, when that work's gonna start.
So, because of that early issue, and I knew I had to anyway, and Amtrak is one that I dealt with a lot when I was at DOT. I've been speaking on a regular basis with Mike DiCatablo and Jerry Williams, who's their new chief engineer. And we've established regular conversations where their ops folks, their engineering side, and my ops folks and my engineering side are sitting down. We actually just got today their work plan for 18 and 19. Twofold, because I needed to know what they plan to do, but I told them, just like I want to hold my own folks accountable for holding the schedules, I need them to resource it properly. I need them to finish the work like they're planning to do. And, you know, there's always issues that are unanticipated, we'll deal with them. But if you're planning to finish work, then you need to hold yourself accountable, because all these outages are predicated on it. And I told them is that the public's not gonna go for it anymore, that projects keep getting delayed because you're not flagging for us, or you're bumping an outage that we need for something else. So we're working to better know their schedule and to make sure that they better resource to do their schedule. I haven't seen their 18-19 plan. Dave Kupacek, who is our operations senior VP, he has it.
Okay.
And we're gonna sit down, we're gonna review it, and then we're gonna review it constantly on a regular basis with Amtrak for work moving forward. I don't know if that has a full plan for work in East River tunnels, but it does include work in those vicinities, so,
It's a start.
yes.
When they do the tunnel work, they'd have to take it out, correct?
Well, that's the other challenge, right? So maybe the idea is to make sure they do the critical things, keep it safe, keep it functional, but then tackle it in the future when there is more redundancy in the system. I don't know. I need to ask them.
Still 4 tunnels, no matter how you look at it.
Well, unless the east side access is open, then
Yeah.
there's more
That's
flexibility.
why you wait to 2021 or 2022.
Right, but if you wait, then you need to make sure the critical things are still done.
We don't wanna lose a tunnel.
Right, exactly.
But well, that's the thing, we don't wanna lose a tunnel, so if I mean, if Amtrak took out a tunnel, it's really, it'd be really, it's
No, I
severe
would
impact on service.
say, not knowing all the conditions, I would want them to tackle it like we're doing. If it needs to be done, we should do it now.
Yeah, but you don't want them to take out a tunnel, you know, if they don't have to.
Yes,
That's all.
exactly.
And wait to 2022. That's the negotiation there, and then there's, Amtrak's just another challenge.
Jerry got this more, right?
So I
That was about the New York.
Freight is an
Yeah, the
issue that
freight.
concerns drivers.
Yeah, in fact, I think there was an issue on social media that we actually had a commuter train that was held up, waiting for a freight to pass it. There's just a lot of concerns about freight. I mean, we've had a pretty good run, I think, recently, but in the past, we've had some situations with the freight. And,
I think the appearance of it too, like we were talking about right away, I mean, their trains are the most appealing trains going by,
Yeah,
graffiti
no.
on them and things that I know we've brought forward in the past and weren't to the standard of what we'd expect rolling through our communities. But they didn't
Well,
do that
Yeah,
part.
I mean,
there's
I've
also-
been-
There's also been issues regarding New York Atlantic Railroad.
I've been meeting with New York Atlantic
Yeah,
They
Railway.
came and spoke with us, and we've had some contact with them, but there's a lot of concern about
What they're
the
moving.
issue, also the issue of increasing freight at the
Yeah.
expense of
Our
commuter
service,
rails.
yeah.
Yeah.
What the future plans are, those are issues that we're concerned about.
Mark, they have new leadership, so you should invite them over and meet the new leadership of New York.
They do?
Yeah,
Okay, we
they
had
have a new
another,
president since last
Yeah.
year, and so you should bring them in and just listen to, give them your perspective, because there's new people there.
Yeah, and I sat down with them, and we've been talking about the issues and concerns being raised, and I've talked about holding them accountable, and they actually themselves know that they don't have any room to slip. They actually have, at least saying the right things right now, and they're sensitive to criticism, and Heck is right, the new leadership is setting at least the right tone, and that's something that,
Because I can tell you, 2 weeks ago, I got stopped by a freight. It came through, it stopped, then it backed up, and all the time people were waiting, then it came forward again, and then just stopped after the traffic, just stopped after. It was just a very, it was a very confined area, by Farmingdale area, so it's just a confined
Alright.
area. And it
We
was just
should
going back, it was
look at
going
that.
back and forth and back, and people were just like, come on, what is this? And
Well, when you
it's-
say-
riders
but,
should take priority over freight.
Well, when you say they're being held accountable, what does that mean?
It means I'm gonna look at the lease agreement that we have with them, and I'm gonna make sure that they follow the lease agreement, that they're environmentally friendly as best as they can, right, that they're doing their operation safely. And if there's any issues, I want to proactively address them. Because, and if they don't, then we'll take a look at, what measures we have. And they know that, because I'm not going to allow something to go improperly without us addressing it. And-
Let's be blunt if we can. I guess one knows what your position is, because in the past, there are a lot of sections of Long Island businesses that want to increase freight. And the railroad has a significant say in this, because it's really contact with you. Do you have a position of view as how you see freight fitting in with the, do you want to increase it, decrease it, keep it the same? if you've thought about it, I don't know, but if you have, is there a way, how do you see it?
Well, I'll just say, and I don't have a position on it necessarily, but I know how goods are moved is important on Long Island, and there needs to be the right balance. Long Island Railroad is not, in the business of necessary freight, it's in the business of moving people, and that's still where I'm at. But I also know that, the roads themselves can't take all more trucks. There's gotta be a balance, but that doesn't mean flooding the railroad with freight, 24/7 or whatever. We're not, that's not our core business. But I think somehow there's that right balance, and, the freight needs to be a good neighbor too. It can't just be, Long Island Railroad be a good neighbor, and then we allow somebody to run on our tracks and disregard everything we're trying to do. So that's where I'm at right now. And if they don't abide by that and they are abusing things, then we will see whatever means we can in our contract with them, in their agreement to, I know what was said before, that we had no choice but to renew it, but if they're not following their agreement, then I'll take whatever means it is, because at the end of the day, then it falls on me as the president of the railroad to allow them to improperly run.
I think moving it to our stock, everyone's looking forward to the M9s rolling out, phasing out the M3s. And I actually observed the focus group, I think it was just over 3 years ago, about the design of the cars and stuff. So happy to see some of the things that were taken into consideration, but can you give us an update on what's gonna be the phase-in of the M9s? When can we start to expect to see them? How quickly will the M3s be pulled out? Because I think that goes in line with, the safe and comfortable experience that you're looking to deliver and the riders are looking for.
I've been pushing Kawasaki to give me a schedule, because I told them, two things. How can they not have a definitive schedule, and how can we not have a schedule? And how do I hold them, to something if they don't provide that? So I believe the idea is either, hopefully, we start to see some towards the end of this year or early next year. And then they continue to produce the M9s for us.
Are any here in the US now, like a finished prototype or a car? Because I think that's something that we want to be able to obviously get on, give some feedback.
We have asked for a car rental, before they're rolled out, so we're gonna be asked, and we think about it, invest beforehand. So we've asked, Hector said that he would keep us in the loop.
Yeah.
We have asked for that.
We'll make sure that you guys are in the loop with that.
And then just additionally,
The M3s, just so you, I think I've said this once before, that until I know definitively how quick and how frequent the M9s are coming, I'm not going to dispatch the M3s yet, because right now, we don't have enough resources as it is. The car goes down, then we're shortchanging the riders. So right now, there's a big effort to replace seat cushions, repair seat cushions, clean up the cars, and obviously only the best of the M3s will remain. But until I see them coming in and going into revenue service, I can't let the M3s go.
There's a lot of cars out of service now, so I see hillside is filled.
So that's where I'm at with that. Because, as I don't want to keep jamming people in like sardines.
Now, will there be more more M9s than the M3s they're replacing? Or is it just straight swap out?
No, less.
Less? So in other words, we'll have like,
they have more seating capacity.
No, actually they have less. M3s have more seating capacity than M9s, right?
Yes. M3s have more.
No, but the M9s are will be much more reliable,
Oh, yeah.
so you don't need the spare
I don't
issue
have
you
an answer yet, but rolling stock is something that I've told the team we have to focus on, because we're shuffling things around, and that's no way to operate.
Well, with the summer upon us too, there's sometimes a shortage of cars
Yeah,
too.
what happened to
So
that? I'm sorry to
The
interrupt.
Mark cars?
Yeah.
I spoke to Mark several times. They told us that they would not lease them to us because two things. They had worked out a deal with Jersey Transit, and Jersey Transit had locomotives which they needed. But since then, they pulled them all back, I'm told, because they themselves are going through a car restoration program, and they don't have the additional cars to lease to
So we have to
us.
start thinking about, we do have to have something better fleet strategy.
So the team is looking at that right now. I told them we're not going through another summer like this, and we're gonna start visiting some other
Okay.
places to see what else
That's
is out there.
That's a serious short, now we're gonna run short with electrics because of the M9 situation. That's, it's starting to look that way.
Mike, you wanna go?
All right, just my background, I live in the community of people who are blind. And I wanna thank you for those poles, those barriers, those track barriers. When we use a cane, we need to find our way across things. And a young lady is buying her first home in Farmingdale. And I was able to say, they just installed these new poles so that you can find your way across the tracks. Because she's going to be living in that community, crossing over the tracks frequently. So thank you for that, getting that done, because it's going to assist people who are blind in getting across the tracks at the gates. But as far as accessibility is concerned, we're moving into the Grand Central. It's not accessible for people who are blind. It's just, it
Okay.
doesn't work. I had to go there last week to get to Amtrak up to Albany, and what are we doing to make Grand Central more accessible as the Long Island Railroad is moving in? Because they have that granite, it's beautiful, but, you know, when you're trying to read a number that's carved into the granite, you just can't do it, and it's really impossible because it's okay.
I have to look at Grand Central design, I haven't seen that design, I was just there today, and I actually took a tour of the tunnels and the platforms and all. And I know they're trying to not mimic the Grand Central look, but in many ways it's similar. So let me look into that part. With regards to accessibility, I don't wanna get ahead of myself, but we're working on some things that hopefully I'll share with you before we roll it out, but looking at improving currently, you know, what we can do, you know, kind of in line with that. Things that we could improve on accessibility right now.
And Mike, we have that, all right, we invite you to the call on Monday.
Okay, yes.
Mike,
Yes,
can you
we-
send me an email about the Grand Central issues, because I'll take that up with Metro North.
Okay. And for
'Cause
instance.
that's really a Metro North issue, but, you know, because Long Island Railroad Station will be under Grand Central, which is
Yeah.
another thing, but that,
But we still have to go through and down.
Yeah.
right, no, but that should be taken up with Metro North, and I'll do that.
And for instance, the signs over at Penn Station, they lowered them so we can walk up and, like myself, low vision, I can walk up and read it and see it. But, and the announcements aren't as good as the signage. But for instance, Hicksville, they put up all these new signs. Why can't we have a sign at the bottom of the steps? Because there are 2 platforms in Hicksville. You know, what platform am I going up on? I don't know until I get to the top. And there's a sign up there that I can't read because it's just a bunch of colorful dots. And for myself, and having low vision, but Brian says that folks can't read them. who don't have low
Even
vision.
someone with good vision cannot read those signs, and I think the spacing of them between, if you stand here, you're looking 25 yards this way and the next
This
one's
is the new
25.
signs at Hicksville, right?
The new signs at Hicksville, they're just spaced way too far apart, and they have this new coloring schematic to it, and it's hard to just read from a distance, let alone somebody who
That'd be
has
true with the ones on transit.
vision
too.
impairment. But I asked as part of the,
Yeah,
because I come out of Hicksville, they did invite me
The
to,
ones on transit.
you know, before they did a groundbreaking, what are some ideas, and I suggested that same thing, in that West End tunnel, put a sign down there, and this way before you go up,
No, they are gonna put one down there. It just hasn't been done yet, but they are planning on putting one there.
but the spacing of them up top, it just seems like they're running the conduit and everything now, why not cost effective wise, you could probably do it cheaper now versus getting everything done and then going back in and retrofitting, so.
Okay.
And I think it'll help what you're looking for.
Right, and being on the council, I've had opportunity to bring some of my resources here as far as online resources. A friend of mine who's a techie, speaks a different language than me, I can't do it, but we managed to get him in touch with the folks that were rolling out the the ticketing app when it was becoming available, and he's a commuter, but he was using it frequently. So we managed to get him in touch with the team, and they made that accessible. But something like the On Time app is not accessible or usable by people who use accessible features on their cell phones.
Time out.
Yeah.
Train time.
Train time.
Did you try my MTA? 'Cause I'm
The
told
newest one.
I'm told it's better, I don't know.
The one that was,
We
the
use
new
On
one's in
Time.
a beta
Yeah, most of us
phase
use
right now.
On Time, and he knows about that, I'm gonna get
Train
him
time,
on
you
there.
mean. right, that's what they call it.
Yeah, I noticed
Train
that.
time is the MTA app, there's another one out there that, if it's on, if there's one called On Time, that's not
That's a
ours.
third party.
No, that's the third
It's a
one.
third party, Train Time is the
There's the
MTA one.
MTA's, but that's, I'm told that's not very accessible. I don't
That's
know.
not accessible at all.
Okay, we'll take a look at that.
And that's from my techie buddy. So, you know, and I have one final question that you'll probably relate to really, really well. One seat ride into Brooklyn. It's kind of announced, it was put out, but it was never really concentrated on. I'm a Brooklyn commuter, and the people I commute with go out of their way to get that one seat. And when they hear that when
They're gonna have it.
East Side Access comes, they're gonna lose their one seat,
Mhm.
they're really not real happy. So this is from the people I ride with daily. They're looking to get to Brooklyn.
You're next.
And they don't want that extra time to transfer. And it's not across.
No,
it's
you're
not-
up and
it's-
over.
Right, that's a.
It's an up and over
an issue.
transfer, and people, they tell me, it's not gonna happen. I said, it's gonna happen.
Platform's almost done.
You don't say something now, it's gonna
Well, it won't
happen.
happen until they open East Side Access, but it will happen when they open East Side Access.
And I explained to them, they're building the tracks, look, look out the
Yeah,
window.
it's there, yep.
Okay.
So will the LIRR be taking a greater role in developing parking like the mainland improvement program?
I think where there's opportunities to partner, parking is important. The access to the stations is a big deal. I think though, what we need to do, and you know, where I've met with some local mayors and supervisors, is that trying to see if there's opportunities to partner with you know, private entities as well. Because I think it's not just parking, but it's also, you know, station needs. And so I'm trying to see that opportunity. I think most of the parking, as you probably all know, is locally run and controlled. But I certainly will be interested in talking with the locals on parking and making sure that it's appropriate and sufficient. You know, recently we had a permit request to, I think it was in St. James actually, where I wanted to make sure at least if they're going to use the parking on a certain night of the week for a special event, that the riders knew it and there still was sufficient parking for the folks that used it. You know, so it's one where, because it affects our customers, I am interested in making sure that I'm in close communication with it. I don't necessarily have control over it all, but I need to know what's going on so I can weigh in on it.
And is there something being done to ensure quality control on station improvement projects?
Well, it's one of the things that I've been talking with the engineering folks and the construction folks, because before I got the job, I know 2 stations were heavily criticized, Wantor and Hicksville, for the amount of time they're taking. And it's one thing that I want to challenge the team on. Again, you know, these things shouldn't take so many years to do. So I'm gonna 2 things. I need to work with the industry if it's gonna be privately done, but I also want to challenge our own folks to see how we can be more efficient and keep trains running. So one of the things I've been